And what has surprised you of, to date so far with the coach search?
I would think the obvious things. We haven't seen a lot of the hot, retired coach names. We haven't seen a lot of the hot college coaches. We've seen a lot of kind of workaday NFL coordinators, and a lot more than I think we would have guessed. Some of the names that we discussed on here last week have been there, like Wisenhunt and Jay Gruden, Mike Zimmer, but there's been a lot of names we didn't talk about. McDermott from Carolina, the special teams guy from Dallas. There's been the defensive coordinator from San Francisco. They've just cast such a wide net, and I think it's a persuasive argument that Bruce Allen in some ways is using these not only as an interview, but also to get information from other people about how teams see his personnel, how teams see his schemes. He's talked to someone connected with the Giants, someone connected to the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Eagles, all the division rivals. I don't see how you can really complain about the way things have gone. Obviously, we don't know the result yet, but it's nice that they're casting such a wide net, I think.
Mike, what do you think?
You have a different take.
I mean, is Bruce Allen on a coaching search or a No Child Left Behind act? Why don't you just advertise this job on Craigslist? You've got 11 candidates now. Look.
Wait a minute. Wouldn't you be saying that you got to cast a wide net, or else you'd criticize them on the other side?
No.
Last time they had Shanahan lined up 2 months in advance.
Yeah, and it was and they violated a Rooney Rule, which they got Jerry Jerry Gray to acquiesce at the very last minute. Oh yeah, I had an interview. No, it was BS. One of these things about this coaching search is the only minority candidates are ones that they were suggested to them by the Fritz Pollard Alliance. I don't like that at all. If you're going to be serious about hiring a coach, then really be serious about hiring every coach of every ethnicity. Don't just do it because the Fritz Pollard Alliance told you to. Secondly, I have mixed feelings about this, because when people say they've tried everything else, if Shanahan doesn't work, well, actually they haven't. They haven't got the young, up-and-coming assistant. Jim Zorn was past his prime, and people always wondered why he didn't get a job. Now we know, but Jim Zorn wasn't that guy. These guys have the potential to be that guy. I like that about this coaching search. But the part I don't like is sort of, you've interviewed a special teams guy, you've interviewed a defensive, do you really know what you want in a coach? Do you really? If you don't know what you want, are you really competent to be the general manager?
Right.
Of
Do
this
you have a real
team?
focus? That's a fair question.
And while you're interviewing, people are hiring the best candidates. Art Briles, if he comes, I think it's a disaster. But when you asked who the top 3 coaching candidates were to start this offseason, people said 3 names: Lovie Smith, Bill O'Brien, and Ken Wisenhunt. Wisenhunt has been said to, the job is his in Detroit if he wants it. Already 2 jobs have been taken. Obviously, Lovie Smith, if he hadn't been contacted, and Bill O'Brien thought more of those 2 jobs than they did this job. That, to me, would be a concern.
LeVar, takeaways from the first week.
First takeaway is there's surprised and Redskins should not be in the same sentence. That's first and foremost. I mean, let's move away from that. Don't be surprised. All right.
All right.
Secondly, they have to cast a large net. For one, you continue to have to get head coaches. Since taking over this team, you have to continue to get new head coaches. Not one head coach has made it through their contract since Dan Snyder has been the owner of this team. That should be noted. Young up-and-coming coach, okay, is that career suicide to take this job? Will you ever get a head coaching opportunity after taking this job here? Wow. You're going to have to go after guys that are either A, as you mentioned, need another chance, need a second chance, and this is their only second chance, or B, could care less about if they win or lose by taking this job, which you're already starting off on the wrong foot, as we saw with Mike Shanahan. It's just difficult to say that this would be an easy search for this organization, as the reputation has spread like wild cancer. You cannot
metastasized.
You cannot convince, whether they admit it or not. I would assume that most coaches are taking interviews with Washington to make themselves more valuable to another organization. If I look at Tampa, as bad as Tampa has been in, if I look at personnel-wise, they're better than the Redskins. If I look at Detroit and they continue to come up short, if I look at that team personnel-wise, they're better than the Washington Redskins. The same for Houston, and that's why O'Brien went there. You are not going to get a coach that can actually really turn this thing around to come here. It
Give me-
probably won't happen.